So, big news for people that love the show Survivor. The 50th season's cast has been announced. Now, there's been some speculation, there's been a lot of build-up. It's really, the show has had such a core following since the year 2000. And even though they do 2 seasons a year, it is pretty rare to have like an all returning cast. It's only happened, I believe, 4 times. All Stars, Heroes versus Villains, Cambodia, and Game Changers. So this being the fifth, which there's been some like captain seasons or half and half stuff like that, but this is like okay, this is the All Star season where everyone is returning, and that's a big deal. Um, Survivor has built it up. Wait, Winners at War. Okay, forgot about the fifth one. That's a big one. Winners at War being the fifth. So this is the sixth out of 50 seasons where we have all returnees. Yeah, that's got a little mixed up. That's it. Yeah. Anyway, so a lot of negativity about this list of players, which I think is a bit misplaced. I understand really wanting certain players to be on, but there's a lot of conditions that have to be met. There's decisions that may be out of certain people's hands. It's not always going to be as easy as you might think. It's not a scripted show where you're going to have the same people and you can just force them in. There's people that have lives. There's studio decisions. There might be some NDA stuff. Also, people don't really think about is a lot of times fan favorites were like replacements. Amber was like on the lower list of like because season two Australian Outback had a ton of returning players eventually. I think over half the cast have returned at some point. And so she was cast, I think, when Colleen from season one didn't want to do All Stars or something fell through, and she ended up winning the season and also had this crazy alliance turned marriage with Boston Rob, who was also a pre. Well, Amber wasn't pre-merge, but Boston Rob was pre-jury. He didn't make the jury on season four, and he wasn't that notable of a player. Um, which I'll come back to why there might be a little bit of concern with that kind of archetype. But still, it's not that uncommon for there to have to be backups and some players that are like, why are they there? Especially Game Changers really sticks out because that was after a vote in season, Second Chance Cambodia, which is a great season, where fans got to choose who they wanted to play. And it worked out really well. Some, but like in general, it was a very good cast. But they had some leftovers from that, plus some of the most iconic players of all time. So it got really, really strange. It was a weird mix of players. Um, Most people agree that it's the worst of the All Star seasons. But I'll go ahead and get into the cast. Kind of talk about. I pulled up this article. Doesn't have any ads, so it's not distracting. But it says that it's confusion and has randomness, imbalance, notable omissions, which has a point, but guys, come on. Like, Twitter has been insane with all this kind of stuff. Like, it is really disappointing to see. Just in general, like, so I've done some things where I would hope that I would get a returning spot because of my, uh, desire to play. We had like a smaller version of Survivor, and I didn't make the cut for the All Star season, and I got really bummed. I feel a lot for the people that did not get cast, like the individuals. You see Jerry Manthe having that video on TikTok, and all these other people that are really frustrated. Like Jesse breaks my heart, man. He's awesome. And other people like Carolyn, and that's sad. However, there are so many people that are outside of it that are just so negative. And I understand like what could be is like you have your head canon of what you want, but that can't always happen. So I'm gonna go through the cast, give some reasons why this is gonna be potentially a great season. I'm not a fortune teller, but at least the cast they chose is pretty good. So I'll start with Jenna Maraska from season one. Now she was not necessarily that notable. She was outspoken. She was young. She got an invite for All Stars. She was one of the players that wasn't in the first ever alliance, and was involved with the alphabet strategy. Uh, I think that was part of the reason for her vote out, and she also was the farthest besides Robin Amber in All Stars. So classic pick. If you want to choose someone from season one, I think you have people that want Greg. You might want Colleen. You've already had Jervis. Already had Rich and Sue. Rudy passed away, and also Rich and Sue probably not the best idea. Just with a lot of conflict there. It starts to get kind of narrow, and hey, she's a solid pick. I think that you get a classic season one person. Kelly Roseworth also came back for a second chance, and she was she was there. But yeah, I think that's a solid pick. Season one rep. It's really cool to see her play 25 years later. Colby. Colby is awesome. Season 2, Season 8, incredible guy. Really wanted him to win over Tina. Tina earned it though. I gave her a lot of props. But I was rooting for Colby so hard when I first watched the season when I was younger and I wasn't spoiled for everything. All Stars, he kind of went out early, but it was a cool relationship with who I mentioned earlier, Jerry Manthey, and then they both came back for Heroes versus Villains, and it kind of had this 3-season arc where they were all together, kind of like Amanda and James, but I would say even more fulfilling because they had this huge rivalry. Went back and forth. Colby got out Jerry, Jerry got out Colby, and then they were on opposite tribes. And then Jerry got out Colby, but she was really sad by it, she didn't want to. And the thing is though, he felt old in Heroes vs. Villains, and that was in 2010, 2011. So I don't love that he's back, but I think if he's ready to play, maybe he can surprise some people with some new strategic abilities, stuff like that. You never know. I think it's cool he's back. I would have preferred probably someone else, but I mean Colby is one of the most iconic players out there. Speaking of being iconic, popular, whatever, Stephanie, season 10, season 11, season 20. Also pretty well known with Cirie recently because they did Snake in the Grass, and they did Traitors together, the second one being much more notable. Stephanie was the last of her tribe, the first ever tribe absorption, just everyone got voted out. She barely won a fire making challenge to make the merge against almost a fully entire tribe just by herself. And now season 11, she kind of became a lot more strategic, and I think that her perception seemed dishonest. She went out early in Heroes vs. Villains. Really iconic. She was in 2 or 3 episodes, but she was very memorable with the first challenge with her injury, showing that the game was really intense. It was just a dislocation, but it was crazy. And then her feud with James and stuff like that. She's a big part of that. She hasn't necessarily been the most strategic player in terms of she's not the best liar, it seems like. But I think she's a really popular player, or at least she was. And she's a classic, hey, if you want to go back to the well, go for it. And she played with Cirie, who is so popular. She has played. She played 4 times, and Snake in the Grass and Traders. She is a veteran of reality TV. Incredible track record, going out in the craziest of ways every time by like getting to the top few multiple times, then getting taken out by one of the craziest idol plays you've ever seen that people don't really talk about because of later stuff in that season, but and then taken out due to idol advantage getting, whatever you want to call it, where she was out by default, which is probably a mistake by the producers. But really, really solid player. I think people don't think she's gonna make it far, but like, look, it's Sari, man. Like, come on. Like, people say like we don't want Sari back. It's like I understand you'd rather have some players get their second or third go at it instead of having some go to fourth or fifth. Which I will say sometimes having iconic women is harder. There are just less people that stick out, partially due to I think some flaws in Survivor's editing where they don't like show women in a more positive way. Where like she might be uh, someone that's really annoying, while someone who's a man might just be like confident and like like I don't know. I think that sometimes women have are kind of fight from behind in terms of popularity with like the casual crowd. But glad to see her back. Ozzy, he had so much popularity. I mean, it was the Colby into Ozzy days where Colby had that popularity. Then Ozzy, season 13, which is a great season. I think the premise initially, but super diverse season. I love Yul, Ozzy, gave us Penner and Parvati. Candace, don't. I'm not thrilled with Candace, but that's an important part of Survivor, and I mean so many important people from that season, and he's no exception. I mean, 13, he got second barely. 16, one of the craziest blindsides that led to a really really big moments that like a lot of people didn't like like it was like, oh, Ozzy's out, but wow, what an influential season from that. And I do think kind of like Colby, like yeah, there's both super like old school popular players, but they're out of their prime. We saw Ozzy later than we saw Colby. Um, so Colby may even be just like even worse. Ozzy's it wasn't that long ago. It was 34 compared to 50. Like that was plus COVID was about 10 years compared to this being like 14 years. But he wasn't that good in challenges. He's not a strategic guy. He doesn't like lying that much. It's like, but I think it's cool. Unfortunately, I think sometimes it might be like I don't know. I feel like sometimes the iconic old school players get taken out really early. You saw that a little bit in Game Changers. You saw it a lot in Winners of War. But you never know. Coach, I thought I had my fill of Coach, honestly. Especially after 23. I think 18, like that was a cool season, and Coach was a big part of that. 20, Coach was very influential, and he didn't even make it that far. Like he barely got the jury, and they had the jury go back like into the tribal phase still. So I think that he is a very influential player. I mean, people like love to hate him. He's very unintentionally funny. 23 kind of ruined that for me. 23 is one of the most uncomfortable watching experiences for me. As someone who has, faith in my life, seeing that kind of used as a way of manipulation was really not fun. So I wish, and I know he's like involved in church. I don't know if he's like a lead pastor or what. I really wish that he would not try and use that as the strategy, which I think he won't really work here. Especially like even if people hadn't already seen it, I think with returning players, it's not going to work as much. He is a bit of a a bit of a pain sometimes from what I've heard. But I mean, it's Coach. Like, you're gonna bring back people. If you want old school watchers that haven't seen in a while, it's like, oh, Coach coming back, Ozzy, Sari Colby. Like, that's the way of doing it. I wish there were more from the pre Heroes versus Villains days, but this is a solid roster. Jenna is a little bit out of place here in terms of like super popularity, but that's a solid roster. Now Aubrey, I'm not the biggest Ko Wrong fan, and I've learned to really appreciate Michelle, and her victory and her skill as a player. But Aubrey, she's a, a strategic, nerdy woman that has a lot of people. Like, she was really popular when she barely lost to Michelle, and people didn't really get it. I think that's like, it's hard for Survivor to edit social winners, but she has so much win equity from a lot of viewers that value strategy, and strategy is so much of the game. Sometimes it's not that necessary, but I love strategy. So a strategist coming back. Now this is her fourth time, which she played back to back to back. She did 32, 34, 38. She did a bunch back to back. One of the most, I guess you had some people that did, I guess James and Amanda did 15, 16, 20. So not quite that, but that's a lot of playing, and it's been a while. I think people kind of got burnt out from her, especially she had an early exit from Edge of Extinction, but that's all right. Chrissy. Now, I think Ben has become a very unpopular winner, and people think that Chrissy should have won over him. Now, he earned the jury despite the controversial idol finds. He won the jury. So she could have done better there, but I am very glad that she gets another chance. I think she's a really interesting player. One of those like mom type women who was really, really dominant. Like, she had a really great track record in challenges. She was she had a lot of pull in the games. I think people were like, Chrissy's got to play again, and I absolutely agree. I think she's the first from this list to have a second time of playing. We're seeing the 37, or this is 35. This is 35. In the second half of the game, in the history of it, we're seeing people get their second chance, and that's cool. I think that maybe there could have been a second chance too. We have a lot of these people, apart from the back to back to back players type stuff. But hey, I think it's cool to see these players again. You can debate that it should have been better, but it's cool. Be appreciative. Saw a tweet saying that it's like they're never gonna do an All-Star season again. And it's like, I don't think that's necessarily true, because you get a lot of like hype build up. People love the All-Star seasons because it feels so big. It's a different game with like the pre-gaming and the long-term relationships and stuff like that, compared to just like, okay, feet on the beach, go for it. But it's cool. There's a lot of history behind it. People can really sink their teeth into, okay, I watched this person, I get to see him again. Like, that is so fun. You have 3 from David versus Goliath. I think it's a bit of an overrated season, but it's good. It's still really good, and these 3 are no small part of that. Christian, one of the most influential players. I meant influential. Maybe I'm looking for like. He was the archetype to a T, and he really leaned into that, to where he's like, okay, I'm a nerdy guy, but I will have, like, he didn't always defy stereotypes. Like, he was a smart guy, and he played smart, but it was like, people were so afraid of letting him get to the end. He had so much, like, he had the jury just like all about him. And I think that he's such a cool guy. Like, I've been, he's a math professor, robotics professor, something like that. And seeing him with like the probability stuff on RHAP and like all these other things where he's involved, I am so excited to see him again. Angelina, I'm not that big on her. I think that she's Like I think she is very, very like she has so many. Probably the most quoted player, at least from like the second half, because like clearly there's so many old school quotes, but like from her it was like the jacket, the ladder, the negotiation, like so many things that I see all the time. It's like, okay, I get it, but I mean, it's funny even if she didn't mean to, and I think she has a pretty decent like, she has a good sense of humor about it. She's not too down in the dumps, and she kind of got destroyed because she was in the final three, and I don't think she got a vote. So she definitely did not get that uh, notoriety, which I think partially the season theming, where it's like, okay, you probably want to vote for a David. Like I get that, but yeah. And then Mike White, as an avid White Lotus watcher, very excited to see, because he was pretty big. Like he was involved with like School of Rock. He's like an actor here and there. But now like White Lotus is so people have no idea. I thought it was like, yo, Survivor people support this. Now it's like people don't even know that he was on Survivor until they saw like his speech or something, an award or something. So many people that like have mentioned White Lotus don't know about the Survivor connections, and it's like that's really left the bubble. And it's like, okay, Hollywood executive decides to make something successful. Whoa, big deal. Adding to his millions, but like, it's fun. He didn't win probably because he was, partially very wealthy, partially the theming of the season, partially, um, people really wanted to support Nick and stuff like that. But he's just a fun player, and he did really well. Like he played well. He was really funny, um, and I'm excited to see him again. I think that there's a it's awkward, right? Because like there's so many jokes that are like, "Hey, yo, get me on White Lotus, and I won't vote you out," and so I'm like that's silly. Um, Kind of reminds me of like Surviving Barstool with like, okay, do you want to vote out your boss or do you want to get a raise? Like, like which is not always how it went, but there was speculation about that, and it's like, obviously he's not like working for Survivor, but he is such a big deal now, and I think it's gonna be really interesting. I think that there's a chance he goes out really early, but he's a great character. Excited for him, excited to see him back. And then Rick Devens. I think 38 is so slept on because of the ending. And yeah, I agree. Very unsatisfying. They kept it a mystery, but it just like didn't make sense. I was like, what are we doing here? And it's a very unique season. But Rick Devens is so fun. I think that I would also want to see Lauren from that from the Blue Tribe. What was that? Manu, I think Manu. I think the five of Rick, David, War Dog, Kelly, and Lauren, such a fun group. And Kelly's, I mean, that was her third time playing, small time player, then super successful second chance run, and then made a pretty good run in Edge of Extinction. David played twice. Wouldn't mind seeing him again, but I don't know. I think he's probably good. War Dog, he's funny. Like, I think he's an interesting guy, but I think Rick Devens is just so good. I mean, the fake idol hiding and the immunity run and all this craziness where he was out of the vote a lot of times, but he was just he's such a quick, funny guy. He's one of the like, and some people think he's cringe or whatever, but I think he's funny. So I'm happy to see him back. All right, now we go to the new school, the post quarantine group of players. People are pretty disappointed by this, and I understand some of it. I think Jonathan, I share a name with him. His physicality is probably the main reason. I think that the tribal with the double idol play from Marianne and Drea, it's a tough topic, right? Because like they wanted to make it seem like it wasn't about race when they were like, okay, is there like some kind of like picking us off? And even though they weren't necessarily aligned that much, and Jonathan was like, no, I still want to vote. And it was just like, I don't think like people say he's racist. I don't necessarily think so. I think he just wasn't very like sensitive to that because like playing the social game, even if you are not like super agreed with some of people's philosophy and like what they consider to be reasonable in actions and like making things better and all that. Even if you don't fully agree, you have to realize that's there. Like you can't just be a season three Frank and decide to talk about all your politics and rub everyone the wrong way. So you're not going to get to the end. Even if you would, you won't get any votes. Like you can't just rub people the wrong way. And obviously he wasn't necessarily that like hateful in terms of how he acted. But it's like he's just a really big guy, and he tried to be funny. He had a good run. Um, I don't necessarily feel that strongly about him personally, but I mean, James was funny, but the big reason why he kept coming back was his physicality and having like because when you have Winners of War, you didn't have a lot of like super buff players like Jeremy and Tony was like all right, but like you didn't have like you just had a bunch of like moms and dads that were like not in the best shape. And I think that like when you have your all stars, like you want to have like some really really fit people, and he fits the bill. And so it's like what, I wouldn't mind if he goes out early. He's not someone I'm super rooting for here, but that's fine. That's fine. Now going straight to 45, skipping Carolyn, Jesse, Cody. Um, I'm not the biggest Shan fan, but like Shannon Ricard is a big deal. Xander was really popular. Like 41 had some really popular players. Um, I don't necessarily think Marianne needed to play again, but I mean Mike, uh, like, and then 44. You could have Franny play again. There's some people to choose from. Carolyn, great on traders, so fun. Um, Wish she could play again. There's some stuff with if she should have played on traders and they didn't like that because it's a different TV station. Even though they promote it, I might make a video about that in the future. Either way, disappointed that there's not as much, but very happy to see Emily again. I think that her and Andy are two of the most like the craziest stories in terms of like how far you can steer and save your game. And she did well. I mean, like she was doing really bad. Benefited from a quit, which not unlike I guess Nick benefited from an injury, not a quit, but she benefited from that and really turned it around and like almost made it. And I think that now the next person I'll mention stopped that. It wasn't an idle out. I think it was an idle out. But either way, I don't think Emily would have made it to the end. Either way, fun player, another kind of nerdy girl. Not in a demeaning way. I'm a nerd too, but I think it's cool to see her back. I think she's really fun in terms of like a very calculated. I think that like Aubrey's a little bit more like I want to say frazzled. That has a negative connotation, but like she's a lot more like excitable and like has a lot of energy, while Emily's a lot more like calculated and she's like very like not proper, but like she's very robotic in some of her thinking, and so how that comes out, I think, is interesting. And sometimes it's like the head and heart, and like okay, I'm talking to humans, not robots, and like I think like you see that in Spencer in the past and stuff like that. And I think it's cool to see that not just from season to season, but in the same season she turned around so much, and now unfortunately did not make it to the end, partially due to D. I didn't need to see her play again. She had a really strong game. I personally preferred the boys of that alliance a little bit more. I liked Austin and Drew more than I liked D, but I mean, she played great. She played really, really well. I don't necessarily think that we need to see winners, um, but if there was a winner, not sad as her. I think that's solid. Um, yeah, she might be an early pick. The All Star strat where you take out the winners early. Didn't really happen in Winners of War, or not Winners of War. Didn't really happen in Heroes vs. Villains as much. Didn't really happen in Game Changers as much either. It kind of did, but not really. Like Tony went out early, Sandra went kind of early, but it wasn't like a okay specifically go against the winners. Because I think like in All Stars there was enough winners. It's like okay, it was like what? It was Tina, Ethan, Richard. I think that's it. Jenna, I guess. There was enough of them, like 4 out of 18 compared to 2 out of 20. And this to being 2 out of 24, I don't think she's going to be a target just because she was a winner. Probably a target because she's a strong player, not just because she won. But she might go out early. Some people might like that because they may not like some post-game drama, whatever. It's like, I feel bad for Austin with that, but he's his own man, so it's all good. Happy for her, and we'll see how it goes. Q. Q is so funny. Not intentionally all the time, but man, what a trip watching him. Now, Kenzie is from my hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina. So I was really, really rooting for her. And that pre-merge was crazy. And then once we got to the chaos of like in the merge, we're like, hey, I might go home. And then there's like Maria trying to corral him in, and Tiffany's like, I'm done with this guy. Kenzie, come with me. And then there's the Orange Tribe with Venus and all them like mixed in. It was a chaotic season, and he's a huge part of it. I think that like if he was voted out when he asked to be voted out, I don't think he comes back. But somehow like it made no sense, so no one did it. I don't think he got a single vote that tribal, but he's like a very emotional guy and then tries to explain it as a strategy. I don't necessarily think that's always true, but excited to see him back. Charlie, I think it's cool to see him back. I think that sometimes the Taylor Swift stuff got a little bit much for me, but I really like him. I think he's a solid guy. I think that he's like a well-adjusted, like he's a lot what a lot of people want to model their game after. And again, it's not going to fit everyone, but like be your own person. But really cool player, really close, controversial ending. Again, I was rooting for Kenzie because she's from my hometown, but I just couldn't help but feel gravitated towards Charlie. He's such a he's funny, he's kind, he was really good at managing information. And I think he just has a really good mind for the game. Tiffany, she's cool. Again, like that trio of the three purples, Q, Tiffany, Kenzie. Kenzie is someone that I was rooting for. Q was really, really funny. I probably feel the weakest about Tiffany. I think that spot could have gone to someone else, but I think the Q Tiffany bond into like sibling dynamic, into like rivalry, and like that was a really cool thing. I think it's like it's a bit of Philip Francesca type stuff, different. I feel bad for Francesca, but anyway, I think that's like because Q was such a big deal. I think that's kind of what Tiffany got back on. And just like, hey, try it out. Maybe you do a Tony Sarah revamp. Maybe you just immediately go for each other again. It's going to cause drama. I don't hate it. I think that it could have been probably someone else, but it's all good. There's also the part of making sure we have diversity on the cast. Not me, because I'm not part of it. But there is diversity, and if you're making that a priority, I think that is a good choice. Now, I think that maybe you could have Shan as your 41 rep. Trying to rep all of the seasons, I think, is important, and we don't have 41, 43, and 44. So I think you maybe could do Shan as Tiffany, but it's fine. I think that, it's cool. We'll see. Maybe she's kind of one of those players that, is not as notable, and she can kind of, rise to the top and become her own person because she was not necessarily that, big of a deal. Because, there's going to be a lot of threats here. I think that it's a well-rounded cast where there's going to be I don't think Jen's very threatening. People might not necessarily think Stephanie is that threatening, but there's a lot of people that it's like, oh, Chrissy, like she's super dominant. Aubrey's super smart. Q even mentioned this, like, oh, I think if anyone likes Aubrey, then it's going to be an issue. It's like they're modeling the season around Q. I hope he doesn't go out first, but there's a chance. Um, but anyway, seeing how it goes will be interesting. Genevieve, I am happy to see her back. I think that I think that Operation Italy is sometimes overpraised, but seeing that way of how things were navigated, because initially I was a Roan guy. He was an esports caster. I'm involved with esports, not quite to his prestige, but like I was like, yo, esports guy, cool. He was wild, and Genevieve managed that pretty well. The Keyshawn blindside was cool. Saul got involved, um, and then Sam and Andy up and down came with Genevieve to do that crazy Operation Italy blindside. One of my favorite moves of all time. So good. I think it's sometimes like you ignore the rest of the season for that, but really good. I wish there was more from 47. Like I think that you need to have even guys and girls. So maybe I would take Tiffany or Dee away to have. I don't know. I mean, you could do. I mean, Rachel's good. I don't know. I feel like she's a solid. Like you have to respect her game. I don't necessarily like. I wasn't rooting for her that much. Caroline, solid player. I think that she's gonna probably not be at that level of returning, but you never know. 47 is really really fun. I think that might be my favorite. It might be my favorite season out of the new era. It's up there. It's really good. 48. People think this was a boring season. I kind of see why, but these three from 48 are good. I really liked Kyle from day one. I think Kyle was so cool. And the dynamic with Camilla, I really appreciate a secret alliance, something I attempted when I was playing it in my game where we had it for an entire semester of college and tried out a secret alliance. And I think that's really cool. Joe and Eva, I think there was a really touching moment, but I get why Eva kind of was like she did better than Joe in the voting, but I see why Joe was brought back instead of Eva. I think Eva is overhated sometimes. There's some ableism involved with that, but I do think that Joe is, he has that family history. He has a lot of really cool moments, and sometimes you don't need a bunch of game bots. I appreciate strategy, but sometimes you have those loyal players that can get swayed in certain ways. You see interesting decision making. I mean, when they got out David, that was such a unique situation because like they really played it where like they used David's words against him. Kyle and Camilla got, especially Kyle, got Joe to take out one of his allies who was trying to call Kyle and Camilla out, but he really just overdid it, and Kyle and Camilla used that so well. Now, I'm not as much as a Camilla appreciator. I'm a big Kyle guy. I think that apparently Camilla would have won versus Kyle, but either way, I think it's cool she's back. I think that I would probably rather see someone else like a Carolyn or something. I understand diversity, and that's important. I think that Tiffany and Camilla are probably the weakest of this group. Maybe, I understand with Jonathan, but there's reasons for that. But this group is very good. And then you have two people that haven't played it. Some people really don't like that. I think it's interesting. It kind of feels like, it's already determined. It kind of feels like a last chance qualifier type thing, but it's like it's also like leading up to a movie where it's like, okay, the post credit scene of Captain Marvel or Ant-Man and the Wasp was going to lead to Endgame, and it's like, it's cool. It makes you want to watch 49, and I respect that. I think it's cool because it's like, oh, 49 is going to be so forgettable. If they had no one, think about from 38, like 39, obviously some negative stuff behind that, but It was kind of awkward because everyone was building up to Winners at War so much. I don't know if it was necessarily announced, but there's so much hype behind that. 39 really, like the positives of 39 really got abandoned. Um, and I think that 49 can benefit. It's like, I think it's been leaked. I'm not going to confirm necessarily, um, just to not spoil it. But it's been rumored who those two are going to be. I've heard good things. It could be wrong though. You never know. Jeff didn't hold it up specifically who it was going to be, um, but in general, this is a good cast. Yeah, I think it could be better. I think Dominic from Ghost Island would be amazing. He was I liked him more than I liked Wendell, and when Wendell was also really cool. What a duo! They were so cool together. But I want to see Dominic back again. Thinking back, Sean Rector from season 4, even Mazepia. I think Mazepia. I know I've seen the Danielle Reyes tweets and stuff like that. But Mazepia is awesome. I skip over season 5. Rob Sesternino, man, you gotta get him back. I feel like season 7 is pretty well represented. I'm just going through season by season. You can get Twyla back. I don't know how she's doing, but she was really a notable player. You could go for. Probably wouldn't go for 10. I mean, you probably got the juice out of that lemon. 11. I think Rafe would be interesting. You had. You probably don't want back Judd, but there's a few people that kind of got overlooked. 12. I mean, you already had Terry and RS back on different seasons, and of course Sari, and Danielle. Like that was pretty good. But I mean, Shane, what a guy! Definitely went off the deep end sometimes, but I think that he has a lot of claim to be one of the most raw people to not come back. Super influential, notable player. 13, a lot of returners. Maybe you could do Nate. I think he'd be cool. 14, kind of skipped over some people. What was it? The Asian girl, Jenny. I think it was Jenny, where she got like really robbed, and she was doing super well. I forget. That might be mixing it up for 13 or 14, but Michelle Yeet. That's who it is. I remember that. Hashtag bring back Michelle Yeet. I'd like to see her back, but 15, you got a lot out of that too. 16, you already got Eric back, and that was 17. Bring back Ken. Come on, man. Represent that Smash. Let's go. But speaking of, 49 has a Smash player project down. That's cool. For 37, I mean, these are 3. Also, Nick came back in 40. It's pretty good representation. I feel like Davey is really cool. I think sometimes like he was also in, like, him and Christian were really elevated to be a threat. But 37 had a great cast, so you could take back a lot of people. I understand some people weren't allowed because of like NDA breaks and they didn't want to like Alec or whatever. But yeah, 38 already mentioned. Lauren, I'd like to see back. You could even do like Victoria too. I think she's cool. You could do Gavin. There's some slept on players. 39, you could probably do. You could do Nora. You could do. Who was it? Country girl. I forget her name. I don't know, but I mean, they used her clip of hugging Jeff all the time, and then just she never comes back. It's kind of sad. 41. I mentioned some of the new era stuff, but like, yeah, you could definitely make this cast better. But saying it's like it's gonna suck now, it's like, come on, man. Like every All Star season has had something to appreciate. I think that Game Changers is probably the most frustrating for some people to watch, in terms of like, this is like, why are these nobodies with some of the best players of all time? but it was unique. And Winners at War, the boot order really hurt. When Yule got voted out, I was so sad. Um, Tony won though. That was awesome. But it was really, really unfortunate to that boot order. But the hype that it caused was like, yo, this is crazy. I feel like Heroes vs. Villains had that hype. Second Chance, it was like I was really hyped for it in the moment. It was like my first All-Star season that I saw like live because I started watching like 26, 27, 28. That was like when I started watching it a lot. So 31 was my first like big watch. Oh, I forgot. I forgot some of these. I forgot some of these seasons, but I forgot some of the 18 through whatever. There's a lot of people you could bring back. You could bring back um, Jason from 19. You could bring back. You could bring back someone from 21. 22. 22 has grown on me. 23. You could bring back Jim. I feel like they might be good on that one though. 24. Already brought back a bunch. Probably didn't need that much. 35 or 25, excuse me. You could bring back. I think people think that like Carter does like nothing, but like Carter's all right. There's some good casting there. 26. I think Reynolds would be cool. Really, really good challenge player. Also Malcolm, of course, came back from 25, 26. Never gonna be sad to see Malcolm. Did really good on Snake on the Grass though. 27. Probably can't get too much out of 27. But you had some icons already. 28. I think you had 28 represented pretty well. But I think that Trish could come back. I think that honestly Alexis has a case to come back. I think that like she had a lot of potential. 29. You can get John, not Rocker, the other one, football player. He was cool. John and or Jacqueline. 30. I think overhated. Carolyn was cool. Mike, honestly, was a really fun guy. I mean, there's a lot of unlikable people in the season. Jen, I guess there's been a decent amount of returners from 30. But 32, go wrong. Sydney, she was really cool. 33 was. I'm blanking on early 30s. Who was that? It was. What was 33? I don't freaking remember. Oh, Millennials versus Gen X. Yeah, there's some good players there. You already had a few of them return spread out. You can have a few people from HHH. I think Chrissy is like, okay, front of the line. And then Ghost Island, I just said Dom. There's a couple others you could do. But yeah, anyway, before I keep going on and on and on, the cast could be better, I agree. But it's still very, very good. I think that it's not going to be the cast's fault if this is not a good season. I think that editing is a huge part of it. I think that letting the players play, which they said in the hands of the fans, which didn't have a vote in for the players, which I would have preferred either Second Chance 2 or some kind of ballot system. I think would have been cool. But they upped it from 20 to 24, which gives more people a shot. It's harder to win the game now because you have to go that much farther, but it's cool. I gives a lot of people a chance, and there's enough threats to where it's not you can't really like hide, or not that you can't hide, but like you can kind of like get by if your alliance is good. You're not gonna have a 7-on-1 all the time because of you being so threatening. Like it's a possibility, but usually through social managing the tribe to make you seem like that. Like it's not just gonna be like, okay guys, come on. Like it's not gonna be that obvious. Um, so I think there's a lot of opportunity to play here. There's a lot of people that have a shot. Like not everyone does, realistically, but a lot of people have win equity here. A lot of people have the opportunity to win this game, and that makes it exciting. It doesn't need to be just 3 players from the very beginning. Okay, the winner's going to be one of these 3. So if they're in danger, I know they're not going home. Like, or something like that. Like they're editing them so much, like the editing tricks and all that. Like there's going to be so much good stuff. Like boosting the amount of players, boosting the amount of how long the episodes are, because it was what 45 was the first one that had like 90-minute episodes. You just get so much more. I mean, the 41 ending was like so unsatisfying because we didn't know why. Like, why did Eric go in? And now it's a longer season. Hopefully, there's less like blocking a kind of like causing someone to make a decision because of either going on a journey and losing their vote. Hopefully, there's less losing votes. That too. But there's just like less getting in the way because like let the players play. Like we don't need a whistle, new advantage, boom this, boom this, boom this. Like let them play. There's so many cool people on this cast, and maybe they do another All-Star season soon. Maybe they do like another half and half. I would not hate a fans versus favorites. I think that, and make sure the fans are actually fans and the favorites are actually favorites. But I think you can do that soon. Maybe you do that 56. Maybe you do that somewhat soon. Maybe you do a second chance too. Like you can do another returning season. Not make it quite as 50 because this was labeled as Legends. That wasn't necessarily like it was mentioned I think briefly, but it's like okay guys, you gotta get Russell Hantz. You gotta get, and it's just like you gotta get Boston Rob. It's like they may not. Like some of them might not be allowed. I don't know if Russell's allowed, but like it's not all about getting the remember this guy. We're gonna do it. Like yeah, they did that a couple times, but like hey, I respect going for the new era. These people hadn't had the chance to, and a lot of these people too didn't either. Because if you were after Game Changers, the 35 and on, and you weren't you didn't win, you didn't have the chance to get on Winners of War, maybe you weren't a captain in Edge of Extinction or anything like that, like you didn't get a chance. And I think it is so cool to have so many people coming back and like yeah, there's returning players that are going to be a threat. But like it's been a while. There's a lot of really good players now. You don't have the minor league like I won with a bunch of idiots type thing anymore. Like there's so many good players. So I think there's a bunch of haters out there. It's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be awesome. I understand like yeah, it's not as diverse as it could be, but it's better than every other All-Star season in the past with diversity. I think the people they chose was pretty good. Obviously, there's some things that I would change, but it's gonna be exciting. Like the negativity is just infectious and not in a good way. It's going around. It's like why am I sad about All-Star season? Come on, these are awesome. Like this is so rare. And if you don't like it, have fun with 49, have fun with 51. Or don't watch it. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Like, I think it's going to be great. And Survivor makes mistakes. It's not just like, okay, we need to take what they give us and say, thank you, please give us more, even if you don't like it. Like there's a lot of stuff that can be improved. I think that a lot of the new era things can be improved. But there's so much to appreciate. There's so much that is going to be fun, I guarantee. Because like Winners at War had some disappointing stuff, with like Edge of Extinction was like the boot order obviously, and it's not always about the viewers, you know. People are playing a game and they're editing the show based on the game it has with those people. But there's so many fun moments. I mean, Tony and Jeremy. You had Ethan Parvati and Rob, and like the Ben and Adam stuff, and then like uh, and you have like Tyson and like so many other things that were just like so like fulfilling to watch as someone that has been along for the ride. And I think if people have just gotten in, like they binged and then they watched New Era, like this is gonna be cool. You get a combination. Now maybe you want a little bit more representation from older stuff, but it's like, look, it's all good, man. There's a lot of people that get their first chance to come back, and I think that's gonna be exciting. And you got, of course, some legends as well, some old school players that are so popular, so notable that I think it's gonna be cool. Obviously, it's not perfect. I don't think it's necessarily that close to perfect, but it's very good. And I think people like this article and other people on Twitter and all these other things are just being really pessimistic. And there's a lot of negativity surrounding Survivor recently, and it's like, guys, like it's not like better than ever in every way, but in a lot of ways, it's better than ever. Like, be appreciative, and I'm gonna have fun with it. I want to make more Survivor content because that's something that I like. You know, I have on my Twitter. It's like I was like father, husband, Smash TO, Survivor enthusiast. Like, those are my two main hobbies right now. I guess I'm getting into Nuzlocke too, but with Pokemon. But either way, those are two of my main things that I was so engrossed in. And I had a lot of enjoyment from learning and getting involved. It's really cool to go over like the strategy and like these decisions, and like it's just really interesting. It's such a unique game that has been so influential, and it still hits. Like, a good Survivor episode will make you binge like all these cool moments back to back to back. Now, not all of them are good. Sometimes it's not satisfying, but when it is, it hits, man. So hopefully this hits. I'll be watching 49 and 50, and as long as it keeps going, I'll be watching. It's gonna be some good stuff. So yeah. Be along for the ride or don't watch. I think it's gonna be good. Hopefully, the decisions that are made by production are reasonable and have been improved, but I'm excited.